So good evening, everyone. So we're just waiting a little bit for people to come in. So hope you all have had a lovely, lovely day practicing, slowing down, checking in with yourselves. So here we are again, the fourth year, fourth empowerment online retreat for people of color, the quest for true belonging. I'm so humbled to still be here in so many different ways, and I just cannot believe Rhonda's here with us tonight also. It's just every time I see Rhonda, my heart just skips a beat. I feel so happy every time I'm in Rhonda's presence, really, and just so much joy in I can't even express how much joy that I feel tonight that Rhonda is here. And so just so happy. So I'm going to introduce Tash, my co-host, who will introduce Rhonda. And Tash has been with us now for 7 or 8 months, and she's one of our trainee mindfulness teachers. She's a mother of 2. She's a counselor. She's a spiritualist. She's just a wonderful human being. I'm so proud to actually have her on our team and call her my friend. And I love her. I absolutely love Tash. And so, Tash, over to you. You're a mute.
Thank you so much, Will.
I just embarrassed her.
So, introducing Rhonda, our special guest, our patron, Professor Rhonda V. Magee. So, Rhonda is a professor of law at the University of San Francisco and an internationally recognized thought and practice teacher, weaving mindfulness-based stress reduction interventions into higher education, law, and social change work. Not only does Rhonda hold this high and important position for our future generation, Rhonda has dedicated her life to healing and teaching in ways that support others in a journey to wholeness and justice. Her practices have been deepened through a variety of Buddhist training and teachers, which has led her to serve as a guest teacher in many mindfulness training programs. Rhonda is also an author of numerous articles and book chapters, and her first book, The Inner Work of Racial Justice, Healing Ourselves and Transforming Our Communities Through Mindfulness, was published in September 2019. So Rhonda, it is our honor that you hold space for us this evening. Over to you.
Wow, thank you. Both William and Tash and really everyone at the team responsible for this beautiful retreat, this gathering. I come to you from San Francisco, California, where we're in mid-morning. I know it's much later in the day for you all, and perhaps there are others again joining at different times of the day. So, however and wherever you are, thank you all for being here, for helping create this experience, this community of practice, of love, of healing. It's no small thing. It is no small thing that we're here together. So, Ashe, feeling the power of this intentional gathering, and really just honored and privileged to be here with you. So, as we gather, as we come, you all who have been gathering today, who have been retreating throughout these hours, and the invitation is really to kind of welcome us back together, right? Because though you all have been connecting, been practicing, each moment, of course, is brand new, absolutely unrepeatable. We've never been here before. So if we can just pause and allow ourselves to really completely arrive again as if for the first time, and lean together into a period of practice, if you're willing. How many of y'all are willing? And before we do that, just to say, it's so beautiful to see your faces and feel like the power of a gathering across the miles and time zones. And I know that for many of us, we're in different places and spaces, and we're more or less able to turn on our visual feed, for example. But to the degree that you might be able to extend yourself over the course of our session here tonight and open up your visual feed, I would actually just invite that, because just as we are, no matter what degree of wellness or how we happen to be, being together matters. And even as we're just trying to come together, hello, beautiful beings who have revealed your video since I said that, we're trying to come together through Zoom, right? It's got some great benefits. It's also can be a little bit challenging. We're a little tired of it in some measures. Hello, beautiful faces. But to see each other's faces matters, doesn't it? And so I'm inviting, before we go into kind of a meditation practice, a little bit of like leaning in and just sort of feeling what it's like to see this as a kind of practice, this kind of offering of this invitation to ourselves and to each other to kind of like, let's say, occupy Zoom in a slightly different way. So checking in with the self and seeing what it feels like. This invitation to kind of be on Zoom in a slightly different way, to infuse every bit of our time together with a certain kind of deep intentionality, a certain kind of generosity, a certain kind of gratitude, a certain kind of appreciation for life. The life that's in each of us, the life that's in all of us together right now. How do we honor this? As we think about this theme of the quest for belonging and what that means, how do we infuse every moment of the time that we have together in our own unique ways with this sense of the preciousness of our lives, separately and together? So there's no one way to do that, and we don't have to have our visual feed on to do that. But just to explore, right, this idea of like, what is it like to practice having a slightly different experience with our Zoom? What's it like for us to inquire, am I willing, for example, to really be seen on Zoom? Am I willing to see my beautiful fellow retreatants, participants in this experience? So am I willing to be seen? Am I willing to see? Am I willing to be fully present? Am I willing to really open up the space, help open up the space for each other human, beautiful spirit? Paula, Hyacinth, Rita, Yasmin, Peggy, Zenubia, Beverly, right? William, Tash, Adiola, Keita, Imani, Pat Marie, Rebecca, Tamika, Zindi, and all those named and not named who will either join us or may download this later. We are really inviting intentionality to kind of be a really important touchstone for everything we do in this particular session as we think about belonging and the quest for it. And so just to lovingly invite ourselves into this sort of experience of co-creating the space. Lovingly, no judgment, right? But just to kind of practice with the spirit of curiosity. How do I want to show up? What do I want to, offer here? How do I want to receive what is being offered here? The beautiful spirit and energy of those who have chosen to be here now. So really pausing and allowing us to kind of really land together. And so, thank you. Another way that I sometimes invite this part of the kind of coming together is to add to this invitation to check in with ourselves and to see how willing we are to share our visual feed or to share it for a little bit and then turn it off. This invitation to kind of lean in a little bit, because that's the other thing we do. We get our rectangle together, we're on our Zoom, we got our background or whatever we're doing. But the question is, are we willing to lean in a little bit? It's hard to do eye contact these days, right? I mean, it's almost impossible with Zoom. And yet it's not completely impossible to disrupt that energy of and just invite coming on in a little bit. So can you, are we willing? We see your beautiful faces. Hello, beautiful ones. Hello. And see what it's like to try to experiment with, yes, hello. Try to make a little bit of eye contact, as awkward as it is, as completely, imperfect as it is. Thank you. Thank you. And what is it like to feel this offering from each other? And to feel ourselves opening up to this kind of generosity of giving this, bit of ourselves in this way. Yeah. So just noticing all of these things. All of these things. Thank you. Thank you. I see Sham smiling there. I feel your energies. We can feel each other's presence. I see Zenubia as well. Rita, Yasmin, Peggy, we're feeling there's something, always well beyond the words, the visuals. So we're just inviting that whole-bodied awareness, even here on Zoom. We can do this. So I just want to thank and just express gratitude for each of you. Again, for being willing to kind of play a little bit, open up with curiosity a little bit, disrupt the normal patterns a little bit, even as we have been gathering. So how are you? How are you feeling? Are you feeling this moment in all of its newness, all of your aliveness? So to support this gathering, deepening, hello, dear Zindi, see you. To support us in coming together just a little bit more, I want to offer a little bit of guided meditation. And I'm going to ring the bell to guide us in and ring the bell to lead us out. Yes, I see Amani. Hello, greetings, Amani. I see you in the chat. Can't share the audio and voice, but you're here. We feel you. We appreciate you. So what I'd like to do now that I think of the word ensouling this space. Soul has been coming up for me a lot these days. But you know, this what I'm trying to do here in inviting us to kind of really intentionally arrive, invite each other, lean in a little bit, right? Inviting a certain kind of extra depth and soul and spirit and love and, you know, curiosity, life energy into this gathering. Reverence for the moment, for our lives. And I'll say that for me, all of that and more is sort of always at the background of any kind of offering of meditation that I do. But I don't always allow this sort of preamble. But I think it's important for us, especially given the times that we're in. We're all feeling a lot. We're all bearing up with a lot. So thank you all. I'm just allowing as best we can the invitation to make our caring visible. Caring made visible is one way that the fancy scholars at like Stanford University here in California and other places define what inclusion and belonging can feel like. So first approximation, am I making the care for myself visible? Yeah, I'm here, showing up as best I can. And can I offer from that place of care a little bit? Extend that a little bit so that we can feel each other's care. We can see it a little bit more. Does that make some sense? As a kind of one way of thinking about what belonging can feel like sometimes. But the question that'll animate this meditation and our time together really is, what does belonging really feel like in our bodies? What does our quest for belonging feel like? What gets in the way of feeling our inherent belonging on this planet? Y'all know what I'm trying to say? We already belong. Life has called for each of us by name. So we actually already 100% belong. What gets in the way of sometimes really feeling that? And how can we practice re-ensouling, re-inhabiting, reclaiming the sense of belonging, separately and together? How are you already practicing this? And how can we learn from each other more about the sort of original medicine, inner wisdom we have for coming back home to our sense of belonging and our belonging separately and together? That's what we're talking about today. So, got the bell, got the gong. So in whatever way you're comfortable, allow yourself in the next few minutes to just settle in for a kind of a bit of formal practicing. It's really good to see you all. Some faces I've seen before, some new. In this beautiful unfoldment, this moment. So as we settle in right here, right now, into this brand new moment, on this brand new day, morning, evening, afternoon, this new moment in our lives. The invitation is to allow a coming home to the body as a support for these few minutes of formal practice. Feeling the points of contact between body and cushion or chair or bed or floor, however you happen to be in contact right now with the ground beneath you. Perhaps noticing a few points, the feet on the floor, the buttocks on a cushion or on the chair, or perhaps where you feel the back leaning against the surface where you're being held. And as you breathe in and out, allowing yourself to drop just a little bit more deeply into awareness of this being held, this being in contact with these supports, cushion, chair, bed, floor, and beneath that, of course, the earth. All around us, the atmosphere of this planet, within us, through and through this earth, that we all share in this moment and in every moment of our lives. So just breathing and resting. Allowing ourselves to rest on this ground, right where we are. Breathing in and breathing out. Feeling as best you can the sense of support that exists for you in this moment. Just sort of allowing yourself to feel that there's no accident, that where you are, the supports that are there, this chair, this floor, is really meant to hold you right now. Just allow yourself to perhaps experiment with really feeling being held right now, right where you are, and feeling the body, allowing a sense of homecoming just as you are. Perhaps allowing a gentle scan of the body from feet, whether flat on the floor or maybe ankles crossed and touching on a cushion, as is the case for me here, allowing a gentle scan up from the lower extremities of the body, the feet, ankles, lower legs, knees, thighs, and groin and buttocks, up through the lower torso, the core, this powerful energy center here, the intestines, the reproductive organs, the digestive organs, the musculature of the lower part of the spine as it connects the hip girdle, right? This is such a powerful part of our bodies, often underappreciated. So in these moments, just lovingly allowing attention to rest as we take maybe just a little bit deeper than usual breath, allowing our breath to be felt down deep as we breathe in, perhaps noticing the expansion going down, the diaphragm rising, the shifting of the organs. And then as we continue to breathe in, just noticing the lifting of chest and expansion all the way up. And then actually as we begin naturally to breathe out, noticing the collapsing rearward of the diaphragm and that musculature toward the core, toward the spine. Just noticing, again, that physicality of a deep breath. For some, it might help to just place one hand down beneath the belly button, just to notice and just lovingly kind of connect with this core. You know, often this part of the body is associated with intentionality, will, intuition, inner knowing. So just kind of lovingly allowing ourselves to feel the center, this part, allowing this to represent for the moment the center of our being, our physicality. And breathing in the power, the sense of the preciousness of our lives, our intentions, the strength of will that got us here in life, in this literal moment. And so breathing in and out. Sometimes some of us may have some issues with this part of the body, digestive issues, stress may show up there. So just bringing some love. Yeah. And now allowing this gentle scan up through this midsection of the torso. Again, these incredible organs of life. Lungs, upper diaphragm, heart region. Let's go there. And if it feels comfortable and inviting, placing a hand over the heart. Again, maybe one hand still over the belly button, or you might try both hands over the heart. As you breathe in and out, just lovingly coming home, tenderly appreciating these organs without which we just wouldn't be here. And thank goodness they just do what they do without our having to direct these. So if, this may be a place where prayer comes up for you, or praise for some of us. We all have so many different traditions interweaving in this moment, heritages interweaving as we honor these bodies. Allow opening up the spirit of your own unique affirmation of your life. It may be prayer. It may be a phrase that your mother, grandmother, father, or a teacher in your own lineage has offered to you that comes up when you give yourself space to appreciate the preciousness of your life. So as we connect and allow ourselves to come home more fully into this moment, feeling may be coming up, thoughts may be coming up. And so the invitation would be to just notice the feeling or thoughts, and for the moment just allow noting and then seeing if you can see what else is here as you breathe in and out. Feeling perhaps the spaciousness of the body as you breathe in and out. And right here, right now, inviting a connection with what is well within. If you're willing. The invitation, what is well right here, right now? And this is not to push aside or to aggress against anything that might feel unwell or might be difficult in the moment. It's simply to open up the aperture with curiosity. What is well? What is at ease? Where is the love? Where is the life force in you right now? If you're able to contact a sense of some new appreciation for what is well, or again, here I'm pointing toward a dimension of our experience. I'm using this phrase, what is well. Another phrase might be coming up for you. Where is the love? Where is ease? Where is peace? Prayer. Ashe. Whatever phrase is coming up for you, let it live in this moment. And feel the impact of this inquiry. What is well? Where is the love in this body at this time? We are alive here. We've made it through much. And so if any degree of appreciation is coming up, let's see if we can allow ourselves to just, for me it's like an inner smile is coming up, or whatever it is for you, outer smile, inner to outer, just feeling what is well, that life force. And the invitation is to see if we can just open up the aperture on that so that it can expand and flow throughout our whole being and body. It might be that if we allow that sense of what is well, that power of our lives, our being alive, that we have survived, if we open up to that, it may be that it wants to flow through, down to the feet, up now through this heart region, the shoulders. We're continuing to scan, down through the arms, the hands, feeling the power of these hands to touch, support ourselves and our loved ones. Breathing in and breathing out, feeling the power of what is well and how it extends through our bodies to help heal others. How the work that we do with these hands, have done with these hands, and with this whole body, have helped to heal others. Scanning now up through the shoulders. This region of the neck. The jawline coming up now to the face. And the invitation now, I'm going to rub my hands together and invite you, if you're willing, to do the same. And imagine just lovingly connecting with the face, inviting me, my hands are a little cold. Yeah, lovingly connecting and inviting a softening, and just inviting, just like, be here. It doesn't have to be any particular way. We don't have to hold it any particular way, smile in any particular way. Just lovingly connecting with the face. Softening the jawline, relaxing, softening the eyes. Reconnecting with that sort of inner face, that which formed before we were born, before these structures became who we are in the world. And now breathing up through the crown of the head, right, the neocortex, right? So now just allowing ourselves to feel the energy up through the entire brain. Often we're so focused on the neocortex, inviting up through the crown, back of the head. Imagine feeling almost like a waterfall flowing down. This region of the brain where the brain stem is still there, that very primitive part of us that can get triggered very easily and can feel that all is lost, or some experience that we're having is the whole of experience. So the invitation is to just lovingly notice all of these regions of body, of reactivity, the, soft-bellied animal body that is here, breathing in and breathing out, and just lovingly rolling out the welcome mat. And now as we bring our attention down back through the back, again, whole torso, buttocks in connection with the ground, chair, cushion. Again, back down, drop into the feet. And now just resting in this whole body awareness, breathing in and breathing out. A few moments. And as we begin to bring this meditation to a close, the invitation is to see if that sense of what is well within us, that we've invited to flow from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head, out through the heart, to just radiate. Just imagine it radiating such that if we were right near you, we would almost feel something in the space. We feel your spirit. We feel your energy. Just know that this is actually possible. And just, if we're not sure, just imagine trying that thought on. Just inviting the flow of what is well and good within you. And if you're willing, just imagine sort of not disrupting or interrupting that positive flow, so that we can just imagine that it can impact each of us in this space somehow. And all of the lives that we'll touch as we move through this day and beyond. Just imagine we're just encircling the globe with the power of our inner wellness, our basic goodness. As we bring attention to that in this moment with this practice of belonging. Oh, beautiful beings, thank you. As we gently invite ourselves back into kind of engaged practice, it's all practice, it's all awareness. Notice that shift from that formal meditation into this kind of informal meditation of life. How are you? How are you? I'm curious if there's a word or a phrase that you're willing to share that's come up in your experience of this moment as a result of that practice. What was that like? Or what are you feeling right now? We're going to take a break to give our bodies a chance to move a bit. But before doing that, just want to see if anyone's willing to share. How are you? And what came up for you during that meditation? My dear, is it Sham? Am I pronouncing that correctly, my dear?
Yes.
I see grateful. Thank you, Peggy, placing that in the chat. Sham, if you want to open up your mic, join us.
Yes, thank you so much, Rhonda. I feel blessed. Blessed has come up, and I feel blessed. That's a really amazing word. Blown away by your generosity and the love that you were exuding throughout that. I just felt it and I received it, and it's made a real big difference to me. So thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Ooh, I hear that. I take that back in and I offer that back out. That we can feel love in the space like this, and it's totally okay. And we can name it. Totally okay. And thank you all. Thank you, Sham, for gracing us with your voice and sharing your reflection there. I appreciate that. As well, those who are sharing reflections in the chat. Peggy with grateful, Yasmin was alive, Imani blessed, Beverly connected, and Beverly Smith connected, Beverly Thomas, it is well with my soul. Ah, yes, Ashe, it is well with my soul. As a phrase that kept resonating with Beverly as she was sitting. How many of us sometimes when we're meditating like this, a phrase will just come up? Phrase from a childhood, for me, some spirituals. I grew up in a Christian home and church. Some phrases from spiritual teachings or from songs will come up. Rita shared grace. Yeah. So we're just beginning, really, or just continuing, you might say. Connection and flow, Tash, yeah. Just opening up the aperture on a little bit more of what is always here. Acknowledging it. Acknowledging it. Not having to kind of package, reduce, focus, name only that which is on a resume. Y'all know what I'm talking about here? We're just opening up the aperture on that, all that really is here with reverence and awe. Reverence and awe that we live and that we live together and that we're here together. So can we take a little break? And I want us to, in a way, it'll be like a non-break in the sense that we want to continue the thread of this moment of practicing together. So it's a body love break, take care, move, maybe get some water or, do what the body is calling for in the way of movement. And if you can, please come back at the top of the hour. Some of us may get a snack. I have some pecans here. I'm going to speak a little bit about why I have pecans. Pecans is how we said it in the South where I'm from. These nuts. I have this as a snack. But take care of yourself. And at the top of the hour, we'll come back, say a few words, and share a little bit more together on this theme of the quest for belonging, but also the experience of belonging, opening up to belonging, practicing belonging for ourselves, each other, the world. Ashe, I will see you all at the top of the hour with love. Until then. So gently inviting us all back into this kind of moment of engaged practice. Hello again. Arriving again as if for the first time, because in a certain sense this is the first time. Remembering that each moment is in fact a new one. And touching in some way to all the power that comes with that insight. Y'all hear me? When we remember that each moment actually is a new moment, there is a lot of untapped power in like being willing to name and act from that awareness. Thank you all. The power of your presence. So here we are on this theme, generally looking together at the quest for belonging, and in this time that we have, looking at radical healing practices for belonging, and really just allowing ourselves to open up a bit of a conversation amongst us here, if you're willing, about what's up for us on this theme right now. What are we noticing? Having been exploring the theme all day today? What insights are arising for us about our own struggle and our own overcoming of that which can get in the way of a sense of belonging? Because that's really the question. If in fact, as I'm putting out there this thesis, we all actually already inherently belong, so then the question is, how are we feeling and experiencing a struggle around that in our own life right now? It's not about being Pollyanna-ish, right? It's not about somehow eliding or bypassing actual difficulties that we're facing. And there's certain difficulties that we are all facing. I hesitated there for a minute because I know everybody's life circumstances are so different, right? But at the same time, so there are particularities that we can never fully know that each of us is bearing up with and dealing with. But we can just know that everyone here has, a unique journey to this moment and particular struggles and opportunities presented by the circumstances you're in. Each of us has some particular grist for this mill of like, what is the experience of belonging like, and what gets in the way, and where am I feeling challenged? So I just want to honor particularity here. I actually feel like part of the work of mindfulness is inviting or allowing, if we have the courage to do it, like just really radically opening up the aperture on particular experience and the uniqueness of our experiences that, cannot be reduced even frankly to identity categories. We are just, each one of us, on a journey. And it's, to me, a challenge can be that, that sense that we're all on our own individual, unique journey, but at the same time, we want to feel a sense of belonging with others. We want to find those points of contact and commonality. We want to have a sense of identity or kind of a tribe or group. We all know this. This is running through our cultures, our subcultures, our nations, the global scene, the using and the theming, or the I'm at home with my folk, and wait a minute, these people perhaps don't belong. These dynamics are showing up in different ways in our communities, but they show up first in our bodies. And it's sometimes not easy to really look at all of that and really, really open up to how we are with all of that. So I'm hoping that in this retreat, over these days, and certainly in the rest of this time, we can just practice kind of gently and lovingly. Y'all know I'm going to keep that as a context, gentleness and love. But we're opening up a little bit more space to kind of really look at how we are around all of this, how we really, really are. One of my teachers would often say, it's only by the time you get to maybe the fifth really that you're starting to get to the truth of what's going on. So how are you really, 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 really doing in this time in which it's hard for us to feel a sense of belonging and safety in the social realm in many places around the globe, in our different communities. It looks different in different places, but I sometimes say, it kind of rhymes, right? Our experiences are different, but they have enough in common that we kind of know what is meant by, feeling unsafe, feeling that we don't quite belong, we're not quite included, and feeling the desire for some safer places, some places of refuge, right? Some places where we can say, I feel at home here. And so the challenge, I think, is to both recognize that, there's a sort of a human aspect of that, meaning many of us are in some way seeking the same thing. The sense that, I kind of belong here and it's safe enough here. And this is hard for us because we know that other people saying this is their place has left many of us feeling unwelcome. And yet, if we kind of come at this from the interiority of it, like, we know something about wanting a place that feels like ours, don't we? This is hard, right? So this is me taking the practice to like, whew, all right, what? Oh my God. So both recognizing how we have suffered, but also kind of opening up a little bit that aperture, like, oh wow, we see a little bit more of the roots of this. Where is this coming from? This wanting to build a wall, this wanting to deport, this wanting to say these people belong and those people don't. Where is this coming from? These are the kinds of questions that I've been sitting with for years, actually, with these practices. It's part of what, kind of inspired me to write this book, The Inner Work of Racial Justice, that I hope at some point we're going to be offering a book club around. I see you, William and Adiola and others who are like, yes, we are going to do this. I believe we're going to do this. But the very first part of the book, I have a little poem that I wrote. Thank you, William, dear one. And I'm going to, if you don't mind, just read this poem because it touches on this theme that I'm talking about here. And it's called If the Path Could Speak. And even though I wrote it, I sometimes read it, which is so weird. It's like, let me make sure I get it right. Beneath these words rests the awareness of generations, and of generations, and of the generations that have come before. The awareness that each one of us is a vital part of the earth that we call home, is of the wind, of the rain, the fire. You can expand that out, the air, all of it, right? Wind, earth, fire, water, and so inherently belongs. Let me say that again. The awareness that each one of us is a vital part of the earth that we call home, is of the wind, is of the rain, is of the fire. It's part of who we are. We're not separate from this. And so inherently belongs. If the path could speak, it would say, we must assert that which already exists deep within us, namely a sense of kinship. This is the hard part, I think. With all those with whom we share the earth, what? Oh my God. It's one thing to have a little bit of kinship. These people I could sort of maybe begin to imagine I could possibly, if I work at it, trust a tiny bit more. Small group. Isn't it hard to feel safe, even with people who might look like us or come from the same place? And maybe I'm the only one who knows feeling safety and feeling that a space is trustworthy is not easy, it's never easy. It really is never, ever easy. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of love. To me, it's kind of an invitation to healing some things. And then what that can look like for each of us, totally different. What time frame, totally different. Everyone's unique on that. Can't be rushed. Wouldn't want it to be rushed. But we must assert that which already exists deep within us, namely a sense of kinship with all those with whom we share the earth. On repeat, in every language, unceasingly. What? You know, part of the inspiration for me for writing this comes from an experience I had a few years ago, March of 2019 in South Africa. Had an experience of being at a retreat for mindfulness professionals, and it was on the theme of mindfulness in an African context. And, you know, that brought up a lot of different things, actually. Which I'm just gonna put on parking places because I could tell you a story about that retreat. I mean, you know, white-bodied individuals were the ones who were inspired to offer the call to come to South Africa at the Institute for Mindfulness in South Africa, which was created by a white-bodied medical doctor, teacher of mindfulness-based stress reduction, a modality that I've also trained in terms of the teacher training in that. So I had met him and been invited as well to join this retreat in an African context, South Africa in particular. And it just brought up a lot. But one of the good things Like, so when I say it brought up a lot, that's a placeholder for, like, there was a lot of conflicts, a lot of issues around, like, wait, who is this for, and who's invited here, and who is running this, and why? But what it yielded, that conflict, was like, a kind of a beautiful moment where teachers, indigenous teachers from Africa, took over the space. I don't know if any of y'all happen to have been there. But one of the main teacher who took over was Baba Mendaza Kademwa, who is just a beautiful indigenous shaman, really, from South Africa. And the message he gave us, and the message a lot of these sort of multi-ethnic South African teachers who ended up coming and kind of taking over that conference in a way, in a good way. They're different messages, but all of them came down to, first of all, Baba Kademwa. Over and over again, he said, we have to heal the separations. Period, full stop. All of them. All of the separations. Heal the separations. Starting with the ones inside. Starting with the conflicts we have in our hearts. It's hard when I say all this, right? But we got conflicts and separations everywhere. Family, neighborhoods, communities. But he also talked about, right, between us and the planet, between, the idea of this nation and that nation, which he really kind of, I think, thought of as like a joke. Like, look at this planet. There are no lines other than the ones we create and maintain and recreate and try to shift. This planet doesn't know that. Coronavirus tried to tell us that. The climate, kind of catastrophes that are looming are trying to tell us that. It's really just one planet. Figure it out, y'all. So this is what this South African teacher was also saying. Figure this out. We don't have forever. One phrase he gave us, be like the ocean that refuses no river. That's a hard one. So I'm just pointing to this dimension of healing and belonging that is about a kind of, this dimension of that is about, like, okay, the healing is not only for ourselves. It is for ourselves, and we deserve the space to say, all right, what do I need? That's why we create spaces like this one. Yes, sometimes we need these spaces that are ensouled and fused with like a loving embrace of people of color, however we're inhabiting that term, whatever our particular lineage, radically diverse background, whatever that is. We're trying to create a space where we're saying it's safe to be here. And a place where we can get to know each other better and deepen our practices, right? And have this network be a real community. This is important. But Baba Kademwa was saying, don't get stuck there, though. Do not forget, this is for us and for each one of us in our own time and in our own way. In other words, it's right and proper to ask, what do I need and how do I need to heal? Right and proper. And, you know, the deep teachings, deep wisdom teachings, whether it's of the Buddha, whether it's of the shamans, don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. Y'all know what does getting stuck look like? It's the walls. You know, the hard walls, the hard stop, the mine, not yours, the hierarchies, the go back where you came from. These are different ways that we experience the ramifications of people getting stuck. And that, you know, so the question is, what does it look like to kind of be in struggle around belonging? What does it feel like in our own bodies and beings, our own communities and families, out there and in here? So I'm also then naming, right? So part of the work and the invitation is this personal, very unique. Everybody has a different kind of mindfulness for this, a different curriculum for this, our own healing. But also another dimension that's about like the stewardship mentality. Y'all hear me? Like, that's what Baba Kadima was talking about. He's like, heal those separations, because this life that we're the thread of, that we're like some miracle representation of, is not really just for us. No matter what we're sold in our contemporary, especially Western, but not only Western cultures, like that it's all about me, what I can accomplish. Let me brand myself. Let me accumulate some things. Like, so how do we live with a foot in this world, which is constantly, you know, inviting us to form a strong sense of us and me and mine? We know we need at least some of that to survive this time. But then the question is, how do we not get stuck in that? How do we keep coming back to, let me be like the ocean that refuses no river. Let me do my part to heal some separations as I move on this journey. Let me rest when I need to rest. But keep going. Keep expanding. Keep opening. So what does belonging look like? Last year when I was with this beautiful community, I offered a poem practice. Some of you may have been here for that. You know, it's this poem called I Am, poem template, right, where I invited us to think about that dimension of belonging that is about our own personal unique healing. I can actually post or make sure we have this template again, but because I'm not going to really offer the time up in the same way, but the idea is there's this template that I offered, and it invites us to kind of create space, claim space for the healing that we need to do using this I Am creative poetry exercise, where we take these phrases, I am from, and then we fill in the blank with an ordinary everyday item that you saw in the house where you grew up, whatever house is coming up for you. Where did you grow up? What did you see there? What was an everyday item there? For me, I'm going to say sweet potatoes and hydrangea, the blue hydrangea flowers that my grandmother used to have outside the porch of her house. And the sweet potatoes she was almost always cooking, right? I am from, everyday items, from, you know, Pond's cold cream, right? Red Kool-Aid, right? Bring those particular products from your home, and then a description, a detail. That white tree in the yard, or that tree with the white painting at the base that the grandfather did. Never knew exactly why he painted the base of the tree white, but he did. And from plants, think of the plants, as I mentioned before, the hydrangea. In other words, this is an invitation to kind of reclaim the sense of home and give it a kind of a creative expression in this kind of poem. And I offer this not infrequently when I work with even new law students. As you all know, in my day job, I'm a law professor. And at an orientation at the University of California, Hastings School of Law here in San Francisco, I offer the students there this too. Because we all need to come home. Yeah, Blackberries, who wants to drop in? Where y'all from? Y'all, where are I am from, if you can drop in your chat. Thank you, Keita. I'm surely pronouncing that wrong now. But where are we from? And then I am from a family tradition or family tree, a trait, mangoes. I love that. So it starts with products, objects, natural things, foods, and then a trait. People who make a way out of no way. My grandmother used to say, we're making a way out of no way. This is, So what kind of trait I am from, right? People who have survived this or that, people who have traveled, people who have migrated for opportunity, people who have stood up, right, against different types of oppression. Sayings we were told as a child, particular places you might name in this poem, location of mementos, the top drawer in the in the family room where the Bible or the photos were held, for example. In other words, like allowing ourselves through a process like this to kind of reclaim a sense of where we have been. Yeah, rice and rain and red pea soup. I love it. We can make a whole poem just out of weaving together the separate I am froms. This is actually a project I've wanted to do and I haven't done. Y'all are helping us make it come alive right here, right now, in this very informal way that some of you are. Thank you, Tosh, as well as Imani and Keita, Zanubia. I am from plantains and okra, from the rainy palms and blue Lagos lagoon. I am from the calabashes collecting water outside. Yes. And so this, where I'm from, can yield these beautiful poems. I'm showing one that came up, Where I'm From by Scott. I'm from Texas, where deep in the heart lies Austin, from the sunny Saturday afternoons of the football games, right? The food, growing up to be a big boy, barbecue. In other words, each of us, I am from hairspray, braces and rubber bands, lightning bugs. Papa's goulash, Mama's pumpkin pie. So in other words, taking that, like, where are you from, microaggressive question that sometimes we've gotten that made us feel a little bit like we don't belong, and saying, no, I will say where I'm from. This is who I am. This is the ground I am claiming and standing on. Military brat, playing hopscotch in the street and double dutch. And at the end of the template, it invites a kind of like, just remembering maybe a song, a line of a song that comes up for you, maybe that helps sustain you. Even now, or when I think back, right, and what is this phrase that comes up? I will provide this template again. What I wanted to just say about that is, again, this is just one of the ways that in my work I invite us to explore creativity around the expression of our being and our belonging. Aunt Bebe's porch. I love it. Yes. Where are we from? And I'll name that sometimes when we invite this kind of reflection, could we get here without having also some wounding experiences, some painful things that come up when we think about where we're from? No, we cannot. I don't know anybody who's lived a life of any decades without having some wounds too. And that can, for some of us, be a part of the journey, right? Like, we don't want to look back where we're from because it's too painful. We want to be here. We want to belong where we are. We don't. And yet, can that sort of the challenge, the way we're holding the experience of the past, be a part of what might be getting in the way of belonging more fully to the now? Because part of what we want to be opening up is what gets in my way. What is my part? Y'all know mindfulness is a lot of things, and the socially engaged mindfulness that I'm a real big proponent of is really inviting us to kind of bring awareness into the world and change the things we can and all that. But it also really does start with, like, what am I bringing? Who is this? Who is this that wants to help change the world? So therefore, spending some time looking at, where do I get stuck? And where are the wounds that I might heal? And how is, my selective remembering part of it? So in this practice, in a way, this I am practice is saying, remember some of the strengths and good things, like really amplify. Because sometimes it's like we seal away all of that. It's like, no, wait, we've sealed away some good things. We need to bring forth some of the strong threads that life has, given us. We need this, you need it, we need it together. I am from a song, Something Inside So Strong. I am from, thank you, Peggy, I am from, this is Beverly, reggae on a Saturday morning whilst doing the housework, and Bob singing, No Woman, No Cry. Okay. I am once again wanting, is it Keita? Will you tell me, my dear, how to pronounce your name so I don't keep pronouncing it wrong? Can you open up the mic?
Yes, Keita is exactly it.
Keita, there you go. I just want to do it all kinds of ways, but Keita, I love it. Keita is sharing, I am all those experiences, and at times it leaves me breathless. Yeah. It can leave us breathless. So again, what is breathlessness? What does come up? There's no one thing. Not get stuck. From breathless to breathful. Right? From being overwhelmed to kind of being well. And allowing a flow, right? That's the equanimity. I want to say that I'm from Radio 4. I see you yet, O2. Radio 4. I want to just say that, in the teachings of the Buddha, which I, of course, lean into quite a lot for my own efforts around all of this, those 4 Brahma Viharas, the 4 noble attitudes, or they're called abodes, that are said to emerge from the practice. They include loving kindness, which has been implicit in everything I've been saying, metta, the basic goodness of the heart. That's in the teachings of the Buddha that we draw on when we talk about mindfulness. Loving kindness is like the secret sauce to being in a world where pain is real, and where all of us have suffered and struggled, and where we all sometimes feel, despairing and are in the midst of conflict. Loving kindness. It can sound like a Pollyanna. I feel that. But I'm wanting to invite openness to deepening. What is loving kindness? In the teachings of the Buddha, there are like preliminaries to loving kindness. Often we're giving it like, oh, you just, meditate. May I be well. May I be at ease. Offering loving kindness to myself, to others, etc. I can give a whole talk on some of the foundations of loving kindness that are often not named, but they include openness to being corrected. They include deepening on a spiritual path. They include lightening our load, because it's hard to be loving and kind when we're overwhelmed. So there are preliminaries to loving kindness, but loving kindness, one of the kind of ways of being that we can cultivate through mindfulness. Of the four, loving kindness, the second one, compassion. Compassion. And I'm saying there are four and they're the second, but actually they all inter-are. So compassion for ourselves and for others, inherent in everything that I've been saying, everything we've been talking about. Right? To say I am from some place isn't no, you're from some place, we're from some place. Let me feel my way into empathy. Thank you, Keita. Empathy, care, and concern for every other human beings, right? So from loving kindness, compassion, the compassion, to define that a little bit, that will to alleviate suffering. So compassion takes empathy, the awareness that others may suffer, and actually adds to it the willingness to do something to alleviate it. That's kind of a way that many think of what we mean by compassion, how that differs from empathy. It's like that extra added emphasis of like, I'm going to do something. I'm not just going to feel for you, suffer with you. I'm actually going to do something. It might just be a little something, right? But how can we take actions? And we start with compassion for ourselves. I think mindfulness is whether we name compassion or not, just to say I'm going to sit and notice my emotions, breathe in, give myself time to rest, inherently self-compassionate. But then also, as we offer these practices, knowing other people are suffering, inherently compassionate practice. And yet we can cultivate more compassion as part of it. Loving kindness, compassion, the third of the noble abodes for these times, let's say. Sympathetic joy. And at the heart of sympathetic joy is joy. Like, what is joy and what is sympathetic joy? It's that basic goodness we've been talking about, that feeling our aliveness, the goodness. How many of you felt a little bit of joy in this space? Yeah, y'all. All right. So I'm just kind of naming some things that have been happening and just kind of deepening our ability then to call forth, to cultivate, and to kind of lean into the 2,500-year-old practices that, and more, right, and beyond, that are our inheritance as we seek to heal ourselves and others. It's like, we're not just doing this for the first time. People have been, there's a whole giant, sometimes I don't even lift up some of these books that I'm constantly studying. Like this one, The Flower Ornament Scripture, right, which is beautiful. One of, I don't know how many deep teachings and traditional teachings that are available to us to help us on this journey. This one, I'm raising up now when I talk about sympathetic joy, partly because I love this idea of extreme joy that this particular teaching is talking about. Extreme joy. I read this whole chapter on this thing called extreme joy. I was like, what is this? And I stopped and I thought, really what they're trying to say is, that's what casts out fear. That's the kind of what joy can do. How can you, it's hard to both be woo, and the joy of being together with other beautiful beings, the joy of remembering the good things, and at the same time be riddled with fear. You can't. You gotta push out the fear to feel the joy, or the joy just automatically kind of moves the fear to the back. So joy, and then sympathetic joy is joy in the joy of others. Because sometimes, it's hard for us to cultivate our own, to feel sometimes joy is easier to feel than others. Y'all feel me, right? Sometimes it's harder when we're do we have enough? I mean, do my family members have enough? Are we going to survive? It's hard to feel the joy. So we're not being Pollyanna about this. But we are here, and we're breathing, and we are making a way, and we have survived, and we are the dreams of our ancestors. So there are things we can do to cultivate that sense of joy, even in the midst of lack or illness, grief, right? And by the way, I know sometimes we can feel guilty about this. A lot can come up. This is why we practice, and this is why we come together. But, to create space for joy and a sense that it's okay to feel joy, even in the midst of hard times. But here's the thing about sympathetic joy. Joy in the joy of others is like a joy amplifier. And, it's like, it's okay to feel happy because other good things are happening to other human beings. So is there some joy that we've experienced, that we're experiencing right now, that we can amplify? Thank you so much, Sham. I'm enjoying feeling your joy, right? As we amplify joy, the joy, I can look out my window, I can see some birds managing to find what they need in the backyard. In other words, as Baba Kandemu was saying, heal the separations. It's not just joy in the human world. It's like joy in this beautiful planet that is somehow surviving despite everything we're doing. Sympathetic joy is a joy amplifier. Let's not cut ourselves off from that. Joy in our own simple experience, even the pecans. I talked about that. I come from the South. Pecans were a staple. My mother, when you would ask her what she preferred when I was a little girl, it was always butter pecan ice cream. So that's one of the things I come from. But recently, how many of you have heard of this book called All That She Carried? It's kind of an amazing story of a find here in the United States of a particular artifact of a black woman who lived in the 1850s. That means she lived in the period of enslavement, right? She had a daughter. So her name, I think, was Rose. She had a daughter named Ashley who was sold into enslavement. And, when her daughter was sold, because that's how it was, right? People were sold from loved ones. And we all actually know that enslavement is not just a thing of the deep, dark past. Different forms of enslavement, forced migration, trafficking still happening in the world. But when this happened in this family in the United States, in the state of South Carolina in the 1850s, when Rose was told that her daughter, Ashley, who was only 9, was going to be sold, Rose put in a small bag, a cloth sack, 3 handfuls of pecans, a tattered dress for her 9-year-old daughter, and a braid of her own hair. This is an enslaved woman saying, my daughter's going to be sold from me. I will probably never see her again. I'm going to give her what I can. Pecans, so she has a little bit of sustenance, a little bit of food for the journey. A dress, just one. And that natural black hair in that bag. And she told her daughter when she gave her this little sack, it be filled with my love always. Now, how do we know this? Because Ashley's daughter obtained this little cloth sack. So in the 1920s, this sack emerged, and the granddaughter now we're into third generation, Ruth, stitched onto the sack this story. And it's hard to, can y'all see this picture? This is a picture of the actual sack with the actual, you can find this whole story on this book, All She Carried. There's this actual cloth sack that's been found that was where the third generation of women, black women, in 1921, Ruth stitched this story onto the sack. And the story is, this is it. My great-grandmother Rose, mother of Ashley, gave her this sack when she was sold at age 9 in South Carolina. It had a tattered dress, 3 handfuls of pecans, and a braid of Rose's hair. That was what was in this little cloth sack. That's actually still in existence. If you go to the Museum of African American History in Washington, D.C., you can see this. And she said it also, her what she reported by stitching onto the sack itself. It be filled with my love always. That's what Rose told her when she gave it to her. She never saw her again. It's stitched on the sack. Okay? Ashley is my grandmother. Ruth stitched. So this is, again, a story. This is one of the few stories of the United States we have of like black women. Well, what comes up for y'all when you hear that? This is like, literally there's almost none of these long historical messages of how we survive. But what does that story tell us? About the wisdom. Yeah, what are you speaking to? Is that Zenobia? Want to speak?
Oh,
Share?
sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize I took the sound on. I put the sound on. What does that story tell us? That the love does not die, that the love feeds the next generation always, always, and it does not fail.
That love. Isn't that powerful? I mean, you're there in 1850 at that slave auction. And so, never let it be said, whatever the lies that have been, the big lies that have been told about our ancestors, and, the hidden histories, because most of it is hidden. But just know there was always that love. I'm going to give you this sack with pecans and a dress, but really I'm giving you my love. I mean, this happens. We never see each other. But wherever you are, know that my love is here. My hair. That's the other thing, so touching. The lock of hair. I see Imani as collective loss. I feel her loss, but I felt her underlying love and tenacity to keep love going and blossoming, even in the most turbulent times. It is a remarkable story of tenacity and of vision. Like, I don't know where you're going. It's South Carolina. It's the 1850s. You're only 9. But I'm going to imagine possibility for you where you will find the resources to somehow survive. I'm going to give you what I can, and I want you to know my love is always going to be in this sack. Hold on to it. And she did. And she passed it on to her daughter and then on so that the granddaughter could stitch the story. And that it was found. This sack was just recently found and then made available. Pauline, black women have overcome horrific history from enslavement, yes. Caribbean women in the Windrush from the 60s worked hard and menial jobs, yes. These alongside their men to support their families. These women are passing. But how do we connect to our men and children despite the present day barriers to find healing and comfort? So y'all know this story is inviting. Yes, thank you. Thank you for just naming that, Pauline is helping us reconnect, open up that aperture. When I say we all have unique healings to do, right? Thank you. This is exactly what I mean. How do we? What is the particular mindfulness, if you will? Our own curriculum, as I said before, for each of us is different. How do we connect with our men, our children, each other? How do we do what Baba Kandimwa said? Heal these separations. Keita, my grandmother's mama was a child slave. My grandmother carried her mom's experience and shared experience with me, shared them with me. How do we do this? So I think, in my own experience, again, there's so many different ways. There's no one way that we heal and that we connect. But I do think there's a role for creativity. And when I use that word, it can sound like something foreign because, if we don't see ourselves as artists or whatever, it's like, what is she what? I'm just trying to. But I think, what oppression does is it can disconnect us from the sense of our creative possibility, the ownership we have of our lives, of our gifts. So I see this tremendous creativity as well in this story of Ashley Sack, all that she carried, right? The subtitle, The Journey of Ashley Sack, A Black Family Keepsake. There's some tremendous creativity in this, right? It's like, so it was just a family keepsake, but then when Ruth stitched on it, it became art. And that holding on to the keepsake and then ensouling it, right? Because it could have just been thrown away. And how many in our families, our heritages, how much has just been thrown, right? Wasn't recognized at the time. And so much of it has not survived. How can we begin repairing, recognizing, remembering right now? Okay, some things have been lost, but what can we claim and hold on to a little bit right now? As a way of helping heal. And then from that place, connecting with children, with men, with community members, from this place of like, I'm grounding a little bit more and doing my part to honor who we are. And again, it may not ever become a book. What is the thing that we can do to reconnect and heal and to honor and respect? Someone mentioned that as we were doing the meditation, that phrase was coming up, it is well within my soul. For me, often the 23rd Psalm will come up because my grandmother Nan, whose great aunt had been enslaved, right? So when I held on to my grandmother's hand as a little girl, I was touching the hand of someone who had touched an enslaved woman and who I know, when my grandmother was a girl, I know that her great aunt who helped raise her Aunt Sarah, who had been enslaved, I know that she taught my grandmother the power of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. My grandmother would say, know that 23rd Psalm. I know she was getting that teaching from like the generations. And so like putting the 23rd Psalm to paper and like allowing this to come up out of a meditation, a way of healing. I brought this here. This just looks like a kind of a rag cloth at this point. But what this actually is the last thing my grandmother gave me. We didn't have a lot, But my grandmother knew I was going to college, right? In the years before she became sick with Alzheimer's, etc. In 1985, when I was about to go off to college, all those years ago, she went to, the local J.C. Penney or Wards or whatever the department store was, and found this towel. It's a towel, y'all, and like a hand towel, and wanted her college grandbaby to have this. Okay, so of course I just used it and trashed it and didn't think about it as like, oh, this is actually the last thing Nanny gave me. She was thinking about me needing to go on. So with Ashley, it was that sack and the pecans and the lock of hair and the love always. My grandmother didn't have that whole poetic rendering, but she gave me this, these. You can just imagine her daughter at the university, her granddaughter at the University of Virginia, a place which in her time didn't even accept women and certainly not black people. And here I was. How do we, I also have some quilts that she made, by the way. How do we remember and connect? I asked my partner, whose family is from India, if he had anything from his grandmother, and he's like, and he remembered a few things that his grandmother had given his mom to hold for him. And, with my grandmother, it was just a towel. We didn't have much. His grandmother's like a little silver bar. Somewhere there's a bar. So I'm like, oh, okay. A gold ring somewhere. Like, and it's just, these are just artifacts. This is as valuable as a silver bar to me. So I'm just naming these things as parts of the ways that we can do our own kinds of healing, and the writing out and painting. I paint, y'all know I paint. A way of like just working to let myself express and heal. And then offering that to other people, because it's just a dimension of, how I think we can just do what we need to do to come home to the preciousness of our lives, of our heritage, and again, not get stuck, to let that work be a bridge, not a wall. A bridge to other people, right? So I can look at my experience, my grandnan's experience, and then ask my partner, what about Aye, right? His grandmother who lived in Bombay. What did she give you? That bridge. I think a theme, I'm closing now, of course. I've been thinking about all of these kinds of ways that we can really in-soul mindfulness, bring the soulfulness back to mindfulness, and starting with ourselves. And so I'm pausing, checking the chat. Yeah, the presence of love, even in the absence of that physical being. Yeah, how many of us grieving ancestors, members of family, people who are lost? And we have to sort of invite the presence of love. For me, my father just left. So I identify as one of those fatherless children out there. But at the same time, I have a few things that I can point to that help me connect with him as a human being who was in struggle, and have some compassion for him, even though I could say I'm a wounded child who got left by her father, etc., etc. At some point, we have to work to heal even all of those wounds so that we can sort of see the young man who was overwhelmed, who had his own scars and wounds, and begin to do that healing. Y'all, of course I gotta go. This is, of course, all of this is, I think, just meant to open up the aperture on your own original medicine, your own insight, what heals, what soothes, and how can you share that with other people? We need this. The world is crumbling around because our original medicine hasn't been brought. The medicine of the Ashleys and the Ruths of the world, right? And all of you, the Sham, the Helen, the Zenobia, Keita, Hyacinth, Pat Marie, Imani, Beverly, William, Yasmin, Zindi, Rebecca, Shaza, Lorna, Pauline, Yaduto, right? Our original Tash, our original medicine, Peggy, Rita. Bring forth that medicine. Heal the self, and then heal the separations, and do not get stuck. Because we have a responsibility not to get stuck. To keep shining that light so that the healing, I'll close with Thich Nhat Hanh's reminder. The heart is like the sun. Does the sun know any boundaries? Isn't it warming all of us? You know, we might have these cloudy days, but it's out there, or else we wouldn't be here. The heart is like that. Can we open up the sense of the heart that can fill ourselves with warmth and joy, and then radiate out? I thank you all. Ashe. Love. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow. Yes, we're here. Fear no evil. Thank you. I got a cookie pot. Y'all are just putting all the stuff in this beautiful chat. Thank you so much. I will see you again on the journey here, and then I'll be on the panel on the 9th again, so we'll continue. We'll be talking about love and the courage, the soul in love. Thank you.
Rhonda, if we may have just a minute, just so everyone can unmute, and if maybe people can see, maybe if can I just invite people to turn their camera on, just to share this moment of profound wisdom, and what you leave behind, what you've given us in this moment is almost beyond words with what you've just shared. I felt like you've given us like a blanket, like your own legacy, and it's like an anchor. It's a real deep anchor in here. It really almost solidifies a bond, like a bond of within the suffering, and it's like a golden thread that has been formed here, and it's like you said, that blanket is like more precious than a bar of gold or silver, is, you know, that your grandmother has given you. I'm gonna look now to see what my grandmother's given me, and actually make sure that I'm really protecting these small items. Does anyone have any comments for Ron? Please unmute yourself. Can everyone unmute yourselves, please? Let's give Rhonda.
I know we're short on time, but if there's a comment or something else to put in the chat, what's come up for you, let it live. Let it live.
Just remarkable, Rhonda. Thank you. It's like William said, it's like you've handed us a living tapestry, and it's up to us to add ours now, you know, and pass it on. So many, many thanks.
Thank you. And let's be imaginative. Sometimes we actually don't have. Remember, there's one Ashley sack of the millions of women. So most of us, we have to create the tapestry in its absence. But let's do that. Let's paint it. Let's write it. Let's connect. Let us build and weave this one cloth that can hold us.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Rhonda,
Thank you.
Yes, my dear.
Rhonda, one
Yes,
last
dear.
thing.
Mm.
So we're doing, every evening, we're gonna invite someone to pour libation. And so I have this mimosa tree that I bought for this occasion, which I'm going to plant in the forest. And just in case anybody needs would like an explanation, a libation is a dedication to the ancestors. And so sometimes this is done with alcohol traditionally. It's rooted in African-centered cultures. But I'd just like to invite Rhonda and anyone else in this space, if I may, to dedicate. So anything you would like to Rhonda. So you're the first on this event to have this dedication to this tree.
I really want to open it up. You know, I want to, to Nan. I'm going to name my grandmother. You know, Hayward, my grandfather, on my mother's side. I don't know my grandfather on my father's side because of the absence there. So in a way, I want to dedicate it to the ancestors known and not known. The names we know, the ones we don't. Honor them too. That's what I want to pour this libation to. All of them. The ones we know and that we don't.
Okay.
Is there one? Do you have something that's coming up? Anyone here you want to join with me in this libation pouring?
Our great ancestors all over the diaspora, and to Mrs. Challenger, who passed away yesterday. She was 96 in my local community. A very strong, beautiful African Caribbean woman who came here in the Windrush time. And she will be missed, and just sending that energy out there. And I pledge to continue her work in the community. Thank you.
Peggy, were you going to share, my dear?
I wasn't, but I will now. Thank you for calling me. I'm going to add, I loved what you said about the sea not refusing anything. So your father was absent. I was raised by a single father. So I'd like to add that, just as we can be in this together with our differences.
Yeah. So generous. I'm so grateful for that, Peggy. Right. Be like the ocean that refuses no river. Yeah. So thank you for the generosity of sharing, being raised by that single dad, and in that sense, that father energy. Father energy. Again, I had an abusive stepfather too. I come from a lot of pain, probably like everyone here in a different way. And I'm here and I'm joyful. Why? Because we survived that. Yeah. And I have a responsibility now. They do my healing and then help. So thank you, my dears. Thank you, Peggy. Anybody else? Rita.
So I'd like to add about my father, ancestral spirit. He was a widower quite when he's 50, so he had his children, looking after children for 30 years, and it wasn't easy for him. So I can understand sometimes we don't honor our men. So I want to honor the men in my family, the courageous things they've done, despite whatever the system had done for them. They tried their best. And we have to remember our men do try their best and hold them up when they fall. So I want to say the ancestral spirit to guide them and hold our men up, the ones that are past, the ones that are here today, and the ones to come.
Wow, I feel that. That's so necessary, Pauline. Thank you, dear. Everyone feeling that, taking that in is landing, lifting up.
I want to honor my father, who has passed many years ago, and all those all my ancestors, but those who had to deal with partition. And I really want to honor my mother, who just came home today after 5 weeks in hospital. She's still fighting for her life, but as you water that tree, I'm hoping and praying that it will give her new life. And this peace came over her as she reached home and was in her own home with her family today. And yeah.
Feeling and hoping you're feeling, Rita, the love that's coming your way and your mother's way. And thank you for naming your father as well. Really feeling this. Wishing your mother well. Yeah. And anyone who's got some illness in the family that's not named yet, wishing wellness. It's a hard time. I've got a sister with cancer. I've got a brother with cancer. Wishing them well. Wishing them well. Thank you, William, for allowing us to offer the libations for the ancestors, those who are suffering from illness and are hopefully healing. And for each of us here, in ways seen and unseen, the ways we need healing, the ways we are healing. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Is there one more before we close? Just want to make sure if there's a spirit of that to bring it forth.
So we will continue to pour this to the end of the retreat, and we will invite some of the community, some people who to come and plant this down in before the end of the summer. So people are welcome to come to the forest in the South Downs. We're about an hour and a half from London, and we can all plant a tree together. Yeah. Thank you, Rhonda, once again. Can everyone unmute, please? So we can all say hello, so they can hear, so that they can hear our voice.
Thank you so much, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank
you, Rhonda.
Much love.
Thank you. Thank you
Rhonda.
so much. Much gratitude.
Much gratitude.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Oh, thank
Oh, be
you.
well. Be safe.
Loved the book.
Yeah, thank you. Keep sharing. Thank you all. Be well.
Be well.
Be safe.
Right.
See you again. I'll see you again very soon.
Bye.
Bye.
See everyone tomorrow morning.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.